Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco of Wrestleview.com. Oh, I have to mute that in the background. Wow, I have a lot of stuff going on. Hello. It is the final post-Raw show of the year. I could say that with certainty because next week is Christmas Eve, and I got all the Christmas decorations up here. I got my picture that I love so much that lights up and stuff like that. I got the tree next to me. And we got this really cool graphic that Adam set up for me. Something of an extension of the Christmas Craptacular, which I was honored to be a part of. I called in like 2 hours into this thing. There was a ton of people watching. And we were raising a lot of money. And, you know, honestly, I said it on the show, and I'll say it again. I don't want to be that guy, that claims responsibility for us raising over $1,000 for Camp Promised, the East Coast edition of it. But, we hit the mark as soon as I came on to the show. So what am I supposed to think? I'm all kidding aside. We did some great work. This is a 4-hour podcast. We had a blast. Adam, Doug, Dave Stevens, dear friend of mine, former Raw recapper, who will one day make an appearance on this show, I can guarantee you. Trey Dog, Hunter Golden, another former Raw recapper. None of them as good as I am, of course. And, of course, they can't argue that with me right now because I'm the only one on the show right now. That's totally fine. And a few other people. Tom Van Stone, Goosey was there, James Laxarenza. We raised $1,130 for Camp Promise, which is so cool. And it blew out our record from last year of 400, which is like, man, we got to dream big for next year now too. So everybody start saving up. We gotta make sure we donate because we're sending people that don't have an opportunity in life really to a camp where they can get the necessary things that they need. And just a good experience, it's really like just a great effort, and I'm sure $1,130 can send a few, so or help to send a few people to camp, more than just like one or two, so let's next year dream big, and I can't wait for it, although I don't want to rush because as I keep rushing things, I'm getting older, kind of sucks. Anyway, you may have noticed this Raw post show on Wrestleview, which is our 20th edition, by the way, is a little less good looking without my wife Victoria tonight. Unfortunately, Victoria has come down with strep throat, so she is unable to be on the show tonight. She is contagious, I think. I've been avoiding her anyway, just in case. But she sends her best, and she is in the chat room, I think. So she will be with us in spirit on the show. So I promise I will pay attention to the chat room tonight because I need your help. So hopefully we can just make the chat room lively because I need people to talk to, okay? I really do. And let's say hi to some people in the chat room right now. We have Torqueman. Let's see. They raised $990 before Mike called in and only like $150 after. Nah, that's not true. It was like $800 and then it shot up. I completed the whole entire thing. I complimented the whole entire thing. We got Quentin here, Grash, Kit Dyson. Hello, everybody. Thanks for watching and thanks for bearing with me. It won't be the longest show on earth, I can tell you that. But you know what? Let's get to talking about Monday Night Raw, because this, I have to say, had a lot of buzz from it. Nafis, hello, hi from Seattle. Hello, sir. How are you? Okay. This had a lot of buzz around it because Raw, as me and Victoria and I have covered for the last few weeks, really for what seems like a month or two, has really, really stunk. There's no question about it. It's just been a bad show. So bad that they sent Seth Rollins out onto the show last week to say, this show stinks. But that wasn't enough. Last week's show, they gave us a TLC match. TLC match, a Raw Tag Team title change, and it was still one of the lowest rated Raws of all time. Now, ratings, again, like let's not, mince words, ratings don't mean as much as they used to. There's a lot of people cutting cords. There's a lot of different ways to digest this product. You can go on YouTube and just watch little clips. You can go on Facebook. You can go on Twitter. You can literally just find a channel like TDE Wrestling, which is where I get a lot of my gifts from on my recap. You could literally go to TDE Wrestling and watch the entire show through GIFs. You know? So there must be something in the numbers. It's more than just ratings. Yeah, the ratings are bad. And there is still stock put into ratings, but not as much as it used to be just because of the cord cutters. But there must be something in their viewership numbers on social media, on YouTube, their interactions, I'm sure, their mentions. Like, I know that last night's TLC show was the 11th most searched thing on Google that night. That, you know, I usually think that they place higher than that, but 11 has been the average lately. So that's a downturn in interest in product. And of course, you can kind of blame it on football. You can blame it on, especially because now it's like, you know, especially for me, fantasy football playoffs. So a lot of people are watching to see how their teams are doing. You had Cam Newton tonight going against Drew Brees and the Saints. So that's an interesting matchup, even though Cam Newton stinks. And as a last check, he had like 3 points for me. Yeah, let's see. Oh, no, he wound up with 4.7 points. That wow, that's awesome. But people are going to watch that, especially this time of the year. And I think that they've conditioned wrestling fans enough to know that any type of show in the fall or winter is just stay away. They don't care. They're phoning in all their shows. Unfortunately, I think, you know, it's even tuned out the hardcores, and that's not a good thing. You need your hardcores. You need to have a good base of hardcore fans, and then you can, you know, survive when the casuals go away for a little bit. But if the hardcore fans are saying, I'm out, that's bad. And as I've said before, I've lived through way worse eras than this on Raw. Way worse. You know, immediately what comes to my mind is October, November 2002. You know, they had Raw Roulette, which was awesome to start off the month. And then it turned into Kane, You're a Murderer. And then it was just WWE went off the deep end for like not even just November, didn't end in November. Because they also did, so they had Triple H in the casket with Katie Vick, which is still one of the most despicable storylines that's ever been done. You had them, so you're having them screw around with death and all that stuff. And then on SmackDown, Tori Wilson's marrying Dawn Marie's marrying Tori Wilson's father, who then dies of a heart attack because she oversexed him on their honeymoon. And all around this time, my grandfather died of a heart attack, like right in the middle of all this. So my escape from wrestling, and this is why I think I never really get to like truly like say why I hate when they incorporate this stuff into storylines with death. And it was that, you know, wrestling for me in 2002, you know, still is. I still watch wrestling just to enjoy. 2002 was all about death, and that's my escape. And I was surrounded by death. You know, it took a long time it took a few days for my grandfather to die, and it was a very depressing thing. And then you go home and you have to watch, you know, Triple H and Shawn Michaels doing casket crap, and I don't know. I never really forgot about that and how bad that made me feel, and just like I couldn't use my escape to escape from, you know, my reality. So when I see them messing around with somebody's dead father or mentioning someone with cancer, and I think about the people who have family members that are suffering from cancer that are maybe trying to escape reality, and we all handle situations differently. You know, I feel bad for them because that stinks. And I think that's really what's made this show just come to a screeching halt. I think it was they did it one time too many, and this was it. I see Clinton in the chat room. Hello, sir. Hello, Clinton. Equine Radio. I thought it was a good show for the first 2 hours. Okay. Yes, we will talk about that. 1995, 1996 Raw. Yeah. No. Of course, those are terrible errors as well. There's no question about it. But I'm talking about in terms of like things that actually just make people just feel bad. I'm in the middle of watching. I started watching when the network came out, and it's every now and then I'll take a few months off, come back a few months on. I'll try to watch all the Raws in order from like 93 on, and I'm right now at the end of 1995. And yeah, it's tough to get through that. I think I've been going through 1995 for 2 years. That's what it felt like. At no point in the 1995 Raws am I like, wow, this is. I could tell that they were trying. Like it just wasn't working. They went to the well of their big man thing way too often, and it really hurt them, no question about it. And they were trying anything just to survive because the company was in a lot of trouble. The steroid thing, they were transitioning to a different style of wrestling, a different superstar. But at no point am I watching that and I'm like, wow, this is insulting. I wasn't insulted by it. I could tell they're trying. It just nothing clicked. It was like just Diesel was a bad champion, but that doesn't. I don't know. To me, that's different from 2002, and I think that makes 2002, in my mind, the worst era of Raw. Just because of how it affects people, and it was just so. It was just so over the top. It's just so overwhelmingly bad. Anyway, so I've seen worse eras than this, but I just think it was like the last straw. So they came out and said last week's Raw was terrible, and they're going to do it again this week with Vince McMahon because that didn't work. So let's send out old man Vince to try to shake things up. And I don't know, did he shake things up enough? We shall find out. Let's see what everybody thinks of Monday Night Raw on the Twitterverse. I just got to pull it up real quick. There's a lot going on. We shall see. Oh, not looking good. 37% give this a thumbs up and 63% give it a thumbs down. I don't know. I'm torn on this show. I really am, and I'd like to know what everybody else in the chat room thinks. Yeah, it just I'm looking around, just scrolling through the chat real quick. Yeah, Clinton thought the third hour was fun. We'll talk about that. We shall see. I will. Yeah, it's not exactly what they wanted. Clinton's right. Yeah, Twitterverse is angry because it wasn't what they wanted. I tend to agree. They started off with Vince McMahon coming out to the ring, gets a good pop, and he brings out Stephanie, and then he brings out Triple H, and then in a bigger surprise, he sends out Shane McMahon. So you got the entire McMahon clan in the ring, minus the Secretary of Small Businesses. I think she actually got a promotion. I can't remember. So much goes on in the government. So many people are in and out. I can't tell anymore. But the only one that was missing was Linda. So Vince is out, and he brings out his family, and Stephanie starts off by saying, "We haven't been doing a very good job for you lately," talking to the crowd. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. But again, this is not like the most phoned in I've ever seen them, but like I said, this was the last straw. What else did he say? He said they just kind of like went around saying like, we're not giving the fans what they want. They've let middleman managers suffocate their roster and not entertain the fans, but those days are over because they're taking back Monday Night Raw. And immediately as soon as they say we're taking back Monday Night Raw, I'm like, well, you never technically lost it since it's always been the McMahon show on Monday Night Raw, but they're taking it back now. The days of absentee management are over. And Shane says that this applies to SmackDown Live as well. They're all personally responsible to ensure everyone has the best possible experience. Stephanie says they're going to empower the superstars and the fans. Triple H says they'll give the fans what they want. They're going to give them something new and fresh. In the coming weeks and months, they'll be seeing new faces, new superstars, and new matchups. As of now, the crowd is the authority. So immediately in my mind, I'm like, oh, the crowd's the authority. So we're going to have like Cyber Monday every Monday. They're going to be voting on stuff. It wasn't very clear. They just kind of said, yeah, we're going to get some new faces in here. And they did talk about the new faces later in the night, new matchups, and new superstars, but nothing else. And that was it. That was kind of it. Vince says, as long as they continue to give them what they want and less of what they don't want, WWE will always be then, now, and forever. Vince also said that, he kind of egged on the fans a little bit by saying, my brilliance, my creativity and vision, I can't do it all by myself anymore. But he's basically saying he kept Raw on the air for 25 years. So classic Vince. I enjoyed it. But a lot more questions than answers on that one. So I'm kind of curious to see where it goes. But, when you see that Vince is going to be on the show, I think you expect more. And so I think everybody was expecting Christmas to come a week earlier than it did. But you have to understand the circumstances of what's going on tonight where the heck were they again? They were in Sacramento, California. You have to understand the circumstances of what's going on in Sacramento tonight. You can't load up this show a week before Christmas because literally right now, right this second, they're taping Christmas Eve's Raw right now. So you can't blow out the crowd and just make them go crazy and then have no reactions and them sitting on their hands waiting for the next big blowout show right away. It's got to be built. It's got to, they got to stretch it out. And besides, just because they sent Old Man Vince out doesn't mean that everybody's going to start paying attention right away. So you don't want to deliver the entire gift, before everybody kind of knows that there's a gift that's going to be delivered. So stretch it out. Start, 2019 fresh with some new superstars, new matchups, like they said. I'm kind of curious to see where they go with it, but I'm not upset that it wasn't everything that I wanted it to be tonight. Because I definitely wanted it to be a little more as well, but they did their best. Then they send out Baron Corbin, who actually, for the first time basically ever, got really, really, really good heat. They wouldn't let him talk pretty much, which was great. The McMahons took turns egging him on. And then they put him in a match with Kurt Angle, who came out in his wrestling gear and a really a burgeoning beard. It looks like he's trying to grow something out, which I'm kind of curious to see. And kind of not, because it kind of, he just looks strange. So it's going to be Baron Corbin versus Kurt Angle. And if Corbin wins, he's going to become the general manager of Raw once again. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, they sent Old Man Vince out there, basically said, that he is a visionary and all this stuff. And I really thought they were going to swerve us. I really, really, truly did. I was getting scared. But then Stephanie immediately said there's going to be a guest referee. It's going to be Heath Slater. And obviously Heath Slater turned on Baron Corbin last night on TLC. And if you didn't check out the TLC post-show, check it out with Adam and Doug. They did a great job last night. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet and you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. Get updates whenever we do a podcast. And then as they're going through the match, Triple H comes out and says, was it Triple H? Yeah. And says that it is a handicap match, and that sends out Bobby Roode and Chad Gable and Apollo Crews to join Kurt Angle. And then they made it a no disqualifications match. So they emphatically and decisively destroyed the Baron Corbin authority figure character. Okay, so they made it clear this is no longer the direction we're going, and we basically killed off this character. Corbin's still going to be around. Obviously, they had him in an angle later on in the night with Seth Rollins, which is actually going to culminate on the Christmas Eve Raw with Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins. Corbin's going to be around, but just not in a heel authority figure, which totally fine by me. And honestly, if they're really putting the fans and making the fans the authority, and they're going to empower their superstars, that was the one that I had the most questions about. Like, they're going to empower the superstars. What does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean that it's going to be less of like this WWE formula, and they're kind of going to let them do their own thing? Like, here, just hit a few spots. This is the finish that we have, but how you get to that finish line, you have 15 minutes, do whatever you want. Is that the empowerment? That'd be cool. That'd be cool with me. Probably the biggest single piece of empowerment that I would love to see them give to their superstars is no longer scripting their promos. Give them some bullet points, sink or swim. Okay. Now I get it. There are people that they put a lot of time and money in that you don't want to see them just die on the microphone out on TV. But you know what? When you have a humongous staff of writers, and it was kind of funny that they did have a job application out today floating around on Twitter for new writers. I guess they must have had a big cleanup because Raw just hasn't been good. When you have a whole bunch of writers writing promos, if one guy gets tasked every week to write promos for this person and this person, all of a sudden they start to sound the same. So I'd like to hear a little difference, and I'd like to see less of this, like, when they cut promos, okay, I'm going to absolutely just verbally annihilate you. I'm going to absolutely murder you. And you're just going to wait your turn. And then I'm going to stop talking and then you annihilate me. Now, if anybody saw the Christmas Craptacular, which I think a lot of people in here did, when I came onto the show, I immediately accused Dave Stevens of having a heroin addiction. And I told Hunter Golden that I thought his Raw power rankings were absolute crap and totally stupid. And I was just all in good fun, all in good roasting. I don't actually think Dave Stevens has a heroin addiction. I still think the power rankings are a little pointless, but that's neither here nor there. But it wasn't like they waited their turn for me to finish. They were ready to go right back at me. So like that's like a real interaction. I want to just feel like I'm not watching something. It's just so damn sanitized. So hopefully, empowering your superstars leads to that. That would be pretty sweet. We shall see, though. All right. Anyway, so they killed Baron Corbin. That's the end of that character as a heel authority. Thank the Lord. Finn Balor versus Dolph Ziggler. This match I didn't particularly care for. I didn't think the action was bad, but, I'm very big on just plot holes and credibility for the officials in the ring. It's like, if you're going to buy into a match, you have to believe that, you have to kind of suspend your disbelief enough to say, like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm just going to just let it go, and I'm watching a contest. Okay. And when the referee is watching in full view as Dolph Ziggler jumps off the apron onto Drew McIntyre and they start to tussle a little bit, how is that not an immediate disqualification? Like those are the things that just bug me. And maybe it's just because I watch wrestling a little too closely. I definitely watch way more closely than the average fan does. I probably watch more closely than the people in the chat room do. So like these little things will eat at me because I have to write it all down, recap it all. I just that just took me right out of the match. I just didn't care about anything that happened afterwards. Drew McIntyre looked good, which is great. They've been protecting him forever, but I don't know. When that just really ruined it for me. Let's check the chat room because I'm talking too much. I want to get people involved here. So Victoria is active in the chat room right now. Let's see. It doesn't matter. Drew didn't initiate it. I think that if there is somebody coming down the ringside and the guy jumps on him and they start brawling, usually that still does cause a DQ. I've seen it happen before, and they've done it before. That wasn't supposed to be the finish, so the referee had to sit on his hands and wait there. I can't agree with that. Need a reference? We can vouch for your wrestling knowledge. Oh, thank you, Kit. I appreciate that. Grash. Going hard on Hunter Golden's power rankings. They were actually crap. Oh, poor Hunter. Ouch. Yeah. So I see a lot of conversation about the timeline for when they're going to implement these changes. Yeah, it's like Clinton said, it's a very, very loose timeline for when they're going to bring these in. I'm thinking start bringing them in slowly, 2019, early on, kind of condition them. Because, again, they've conditioned fans to kind of tune out in the wintertime, and they usually come back around Royal Rumble. So that's when you want to start conditioning everybody for change, okay? And it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while because it's been years and years of conditioning them to only react to big moves, okay? One thing I would love for them to condition the fans into is, like, not every match has to have a suicide dive. Not every match has to have the somersault senton. These are dangerous moves, and I've seen Finn Balor do that somersault senton many, many times. Every now and then, he lands super, super hard on his hip or on his shoulder or something crazy like that. And I'm like, man, this guy is going to... He's playing with fire there. And I hate to see that. But that's just conditioning. That's because you've conditioned your fans to sit on their hands and wait for the big trampoline act. And then, yes, it is partly to blame on indie wrestling, but WWE is just as much to blame. You know, I really think of WWE as what people used to think of as General Electric. You know, as the country goes, or as General Electric goes, so does the country. Now GE isn't as big as they used to be, obviously, but WWE is huge. It's a conglomerate, and they set the tone. You know, good or bad. I really do believe that. The dives, I think, are a direct result. You know, like the uptick in them. Like they saw other people doing them, and then so WWE started doing it because it gets a pop, and then all the companies start doing it. Everybody starts doing it. That can change. I thought that they should have started conditioning them out of it 2 years ago. I'll never forget. It was the I forget what pay-per-view it was on. Probably Hell in a Cell, actually. Hell in a Cell 2016. Cesaro and Sheamus having their final match of their best of 7 series, and Cesaro goes for a suicide dive and basically DDT'd himself on the floor. And if this guy wasn't a freak of nature, if he didn't have traps that are like make you beg for mercy, and you know, like just what a genetic freak he is, he'd be in a lot of trouble. He would be in a lot of trouble. We'd have like a really bad Tyson Kidd situation on our hands. Yes, exactly. Samsung, Apple removes the headphone jacks. Everyone starts removing headphone jacks. Yes, it's dated. It's dead, antiquated. Netflix moves on from DVDs and they start streaming. Now everybody's streaming, and DVD is a dying breed pretty much. Who buys DVDs anymore? Seriously, like who does? You know, I only buy something if I have to have it, and like Christmas movies. Good example there. Like I have to have It's a Wonderful Life. I have to have It's a Christmas Story, the Christmas Story. You know, Nightmare Before Christmas. I have to have those at my fingertips at all times for Christmas, because you can't always be assured that they'd be streaming, and I just don't like renting. You know, because if I want to watch it through a few days and I only have 48 hours once you start, that's why I buy the DVDs. That's it. Oh yes, there you go. The best Blu-ray money can buy, yeah, and it is a game system too. They have that as well. Anyway, I kind of got sidetracked by this. I don't really remember. Oh yes, just so like conditioning, you know, the crowd, you know. So I think that timeline, it's a matter of just starting the conditioning. When do you want to start? You want to start when more people are watching. So hopefully they make some changes. Hopefully they make some real positive changes for not just for them, but for wrestling as a whole. Again, the Finn Balor Dolph Ziggler match was not a positive in my mind, just because of the credibility issue with the referee, and so many times that is a finish and then it didn't turn into a finish. The Dean Ambrose thing with coming out with the big sirens and the security guards, I don't know. That's going to get old real quick, and in fact, I think it already has. That is just so goofy. They didn't have a good match at TLC. You know, I thought, you know, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins I'm talking about, they didn't have a good match at TLC. I thought, you know, if you're doing a feud where you're invoking Roman Reigns' name and talking about his leukemia and all that distasteful stuff, which I don't like. I've already gone into detail about it. I'm not going to do it again. You're going to go out there and have a wrestling match after all that. After Rollins couldn't wait to get his hands on Ambrose. We're going to collar elbow? Really? It should have just been a brawl. It should, you know, and again, I'm booking the thing, you know, fine. But you know what? I can, because they said that I'm the authority now. So I can book. I would have a brawl. I would have cut the time. And I would have had the same finish, but it would have been more intense. This was a match. I couldn't wait to see this match. And I was so bummed that I couldn't recap TLC. I really was. I love recapping. I don't know. I'm sure you kind of get that sense from me. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it. It really is a labor of love. It's not, you're not going to get rich doing this, but you have a platform, and I love having the platform. But at the end of the day, I love just watching wrestling and writing about it. That was always my goal from day one. This thing, I really wanted to recap it, and they totally blew it. It's a blood feud. I get it. We're not going to have blood ever again. That's great. I hate the thought of Hep C floating around the ring mats. That's totally cool. But collar and elbow tie-ups, arm drag, working submit. No, they should have just been beating the crap out of each other in a no DQ match, and that's it. 10 minutes. Dean Ambrose capitalized on a mistake, and we move on. Big mistake. And they've made a big mistake, I think, with the Dean Ambrose character. At least he toned down on the silly, oh, what's that smell? But he still has the guys in the gas masks. So we have a little ways to go to kind of undo some of the damage they've done. Absolutely zero follow-up on this, too, by the way. He called out Seth Rollins, and he made an open challenge, not for the Intercontinental title, but for Seth Rollins to punch him in the face. I don't like that Rollins didn't answer the call. I know that they had him sneak out later, but a lot of you're wondering where the heck is Rollins? It's I don't know. Instead they had an open challenge for the Intercontinental title, and they had Tyler Breeze go out. It was just a match. It wasn't anything special, but at least Doug's milk carton is getting smaller because there is no more Tyler Breeze on the milk carton. That's good. Yeah, Victoria in the chat room. Mike was like Dean walking into our house just to avoid me. Yeah. Oh, yes, Clinton, thank you for reminding me of that horrible situation. Yes, very reminiscent. The Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose match was very, very reminiscent of Randy Orton and Triple H, where it's okay, this guy DDT'd his wife and then kissed her on the lips right in front of him while he's handcuffed to the ropes. So let's make this a main event of WrestleMania. It was a good build for WrestleMania. And then they announced that it's a straight up wrestling match. And if Triple H gets disqualified, he loses the title. It's a blood feud. Now they can't use weapons. And that was just the worst. I don't know. I still don't know what they were thinking with that. I have no clue. My God. Yes. The 25th anniversary of WrestleMania ended on it sucked. That sucked. This was, honestly, this wasn't as bad. Now that I think about it, now that I have a little context, now that we've made some context here, Rollins and Ambrose wasn't really that bad compared to Triple H and Randy Orton. Good God. Anyway, so Ambrose beat Tyler Breeze to retain the title, and then they had Seth Rollins come out as a security guard. They had his music play. He came out and super kicked Dean Ambrose down. Revealed himself to be one of the SWAT team members, which we kind of knew, halfway, as the match was going on, because they kind of clued us in because they kept showing the camera angle from behind the security guards. So it's okay, they want us to see the security guards. They want us to remember the security guards. So that was, a thought. I knew he was going to be under there, but still, I don't think it's a good look to call out your babyface and they don't respond. It was strange. The big news, and I guess this is part of the slow change, we don't have a timeline for when they're coming or where they're going either. Because don't forget that Shane was there as well, and he did mention SmackDown Live and made it sound like they're keeping the brand split, which is totally fine. I don't think the brand split will be here by this time next year, but we shall see. In the meantime, they're still doing it. Shane is out there, So all it said was that these new faces are coming to WWE. It didn't say Raw, SmackDown, anything. So we already knew Lars Sullivan is coming, and I'll just show you their faces instead of looking at mine. So we have Lars Sullivan coming. We have Lacey Evans coming, who that would be, I would love to see her against. You could put her against Asuka, or you could put her against Ronda Rousey. There's options there, and I think either of those options would be great. EC3, which I'm not too jacked about. It is what, EC3 to me is just a guy who's there. He has a great physique. He's got a decent look, but I don't think he has the ability to really, it shows on NXT that he's not that guy that really stands out. And I just always go back to that match that me and Victoria went to at the NXT takeover in Brooklyn when he faced Velveteen Dream. And it was just wasn't for me. Heavy Machinery, which please put them on Raw, please. AOP versus Heavy Machinery. Sign me up all day long. And Nikki Cross, who did a one-off appearance on SmackDown. So a couple people were like, "Oh, hasn't she been used before?" No. She's that was a one-off appearance, just for England, and now she's coming to WWE. We don't know where she's going. That would also be a good match. That would probably be a better match against Asuka. Believe it or not, I actually would love to see that. Because Asuka is kind of like got that little kind of crazy dynamic. She's a no nonsense face in a sense, and Nikki Cross could be a great heel challenger for her. She really could. So that I would put Nikki Cross on SmackDown for there. That would be a lot of fun, actually. So those are 6 people. A lot of people were like, "Oh, why couldn't you just debut them, without announcing it, have it be a little surprise?" It's like, well, you know what? If everybody has to debut as a surprise, it gets redundant. It gets lame. You know what? Just bring them in the right way. Give them some promotion like they're doing with Lars Sullivan right now. Because Lars Sullivan, I can't wait to see him. Like last week's video for Lars Sullivan, it was no longer Lars Sullivan is coming. Now it said Lars Sullivan is lurking. And you just kind of get the idea that this guy's a freak. He's got a scary look. Obviously, we've seen him on NXT, so we know. But the casual viewer, if I was a casual viewer watching, I'd be very interested to see what this guy Lars Sullivan can do. Build him up with video packages. Let's understand who we're watching and what they're about. That was one of my biggest criticisms when they had the cruiserweights. When they started the cruiserweight division and just put it on Raw, and it was the buffer match every week. And they just brought people in. They just brought them in. Here you go. Here's Grand Metalik versus TJ Perkins. Okay, TJ Perkins versus Grand Metalik. Who the hell are they? Who are they? There was no video packages establishing characters, nothing. And I think that's a lot of the problems with the people that make the NXT call-ups on Raw. It's who are they? They get the big pop the night after WrestleMania because it's the hardcores, all the crazy hardcores from all over the world are there, and they'll just pop for them because they just love them. But the casual fan doesn't know anything, and then they go to the next town next week, and that's no longer, the hardcore fans, and they don't get half the pop because they don't know who they are. There's nothing established. So I think you establish these people and bring them in slowly. At least we know they're coming. We don't know when they're going to come, I guess. So they can still kind of show up, but establish who they are. I kind of like the video package tonight. I thought that was a really, 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 really good idea. Yeah. So, going back to the chat room right now, Clinton says it's like Elias just floating around playing guitar. Like, we really didn't know much about Elias. I still don't know much about Elias. Honestly, 10 years in, other than I know that he likes to steal the show, I don't know who the hell Dolph Ziggler is. I don't know what a Dolph Ziggler is. I don't understand what makes him tick. It's either he wants to be the best imitation of Shawn Michaels that ever lived, or he wants to be I don't know. I don't know what his focus is, because it changes so frequently. It's partly because of the start-stop stuff too. But there's a lot of characters that could benefit from some video packages every now and then, just kind of saying like, this is what this dude's about. You haven't seen Dolph Ziggler on Raw in a month. Let's take a look at what Dolph Ziggler does. Okay. And you can do it that way. Dolph equals overpaid, Mr. V says. I don't know if he's overpaid. I just think he's underutilized. It's like they use him when they need him, and then like now he's not really needed anymore. They had this segment was just death. Absolute death. Bobby Lashley in the ring with the broken guitar from last night, mocking Elias, and then doing the bending over with his butt. That's got to go. And then Elias comes from out of nowhere, smashes Lashley on the back. Here, check this out. Like, this is crazy. Smashes him on the back with the guitar, absolutely wallops him, and he falls to the apron. But what you don't see on that GIF is that literally 30 seconds later, Elias is out of the ring, backing up the ramp, and Lashley's on his feet like nothing happened. You just got hit with a guitar. Like, can we sell the guitar shot? Like that? You can no longer sell those either? Come on now. You know, that's another thing. It's like they crush each other with these weapons. They kill each other with weapons. And they don't sell them half enough for the punishment that they're actually taking. That bugs me. It also used to bug me when JBL used to call them toys. Here come the toys. Because if you're like, look, if I'm going to get cracked on the back with a chair and have it, you know, stuck into my midsection and stuff like that, or driven into my ribs, I don't want the guy who's supposed to be putting this over. Like, there's a reason why I'm doing this. It's to get somebody. It's to help get somebody else over, and it's also to get me over as well. You know, and the match. Okay, so if I'm going to take this punishment to help get my opponent over and the match over, and I'm going to take this punishment, I don't want the guy who's supposed to be helping the viewer to put this over as like, oh my God, look what's happening, calling it toys. Okay, I don't want that, and I don't want, you know, people just popping up from these things like immediately after. Come on now, that's just, it just doesn't make sense. If you're gonna punish yourself, like, they're actually getting hurt. Okay, they're actually getting hurt. Anyway, let's see. So yeah, that stunk. Hey, Sami Zayn's returning. He's coming back soon. That's what it says. Sami Zayn returns soon. Oh, that's exciting. This one, the next match, Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match. I hate Fatal 4-Way Tag Team matches. I hate any kind of multi-team tag matches at all in WWE. I hate them. I despise them. But this one made me so freaking happy. It really did. And I hate them simply because it's like, okay, we have a Fatal 4-Way match with singles competitors. They're all four in the ring. It's not like 2 start and then you have to like kind of tag in or like get your turn. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? That's stupid. But with tag teams, you have to tag in, you know, I can't even get into it because it's so ridiculous. It's so absurd. I was able to get past that tonight because they announced that the stupid, which Seth Rollins said last week. Seth Rollins said the Revival is one of the best tag teams that are in the company right now, and they're being held down in these stupid Lucha House Party rules. So at the very start of this thing, Michael Cole said that the McMahon regime now has outlawed the Lucha House Party rules, which, jumping for joy. I really was. How is it? I mean, I was able to overlook the faces all overwhelming the heel earlier tonight because of the Baron Corbin thing. I can understand what they were trying to do there. But if you're going to have a face tag team 3-on-1 on one guy, like, how are they a face? How is that a face tag team every single week doing that? How are you supposed to get behind them? You like, WWE does this thing where they think they can just like put stuff out there and people are just going to go for it just because it's like, well, we're WWE and we told you to go for it and you're going to go for it. You know, we're going to rewrite the rules on classic norms, on just norms of good writing, you know, where you have to have a protagonist and an antagonist, and you can't rewrite the rules of the protagonist. You just can't. It can change a little bit. You know, the personality can change, you know, the type, you can have an anti-hero and stuff like that, but it doesn't really change all that much. And most of that has to do, you know, plays into societal things too. So, you know, 1990s was all about anti-authority. So you get Steve Austin. That's why that face worked. But most of the faces throughout history have been Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, take your prayers, say your vitamins, and, you know, have sex with your best friend's girlfriend. Oh no, I'm sorry. And take your vitamins, and John Cena. So it's like, you know, they got lucky once, you know, with one different kind of protagonist, but mostly they're the same. So Lucha House Party rules are out, and the Revival won this match, so they are the number 1 contenders to the Raw Tag Team Championships. And I would love for the AOP to go away, like I was talking about before, for a month, and then kind of do one of those video packages to try to reestablish them for the 3rd time, because I think they've been hurt actually by being champions and being joke champions and the AOPP thing, and I think that's actually hurt them. So I think a little time away is the best medicine for the AOP. Anyway, I think everybody in the chat room liked my Hulk Hogan reference. You know, it's like so gross. Like every time I do think of that every now and then. I don't know why, but every now and then, like if I think like, oh god, I can't believe they brought Hulk Hogan back, and then I always go back to that Gawker article where they didn't show they showed like little clips of it, but like they did the play-by-play written out, which is so nasty, and it's like, oh, as Hulk Hogan takes his condom with his super Hulk Hogan sperm in it, like I was like, oh, it always pops in my head. I hate that shit. Anyway, this is okay. God, I don't even need Victoria to go off the tracks. I can just do it on my own. This is crazy. I could really use her help right now because I have to talk about Ronda Rousey next. Okay. Oh yeah, and before that, they had an angle with Seth Rollins backstage saying that TLC was a disaster, but he's going to right the ship. You know, this is his life. This is everything he's been dedicated to. He's going to end Dean Ambrose. Baron Corbin comes up to him and says he was doing a good job as general manager until Rollins said something. So he blames Rollins for all of his misfortunes and, you know, basically says that Ambrose was right about what he said about Rollins. Cool. Anyway, Ronda Rousey, Rowdy Ronda Rousey, makes her way to the ring and does one of her promos about how she wants to do an open challenge because a real champion is more than just the winner of a match or the decision of a referee. They're more than just the title you hold in your hands, more than just a prop. Those are the symptoms of a champion, but a real champion represents the limit of human potential, the best of the best, physically, mentally, morally. I'm like, oh God, not another one of those, you know, nobody talks this way promos. But that's kind of what they did. But it wasn't as obnoxious. It wasn't like they did the what did she call Tamina? It was something about an insufferable mute or something like that. It was like, oh, come on, who talks that way? But she said, you know, I kind of like this idea. After a pay-per-view, a champion should defend their championship whether they're in good condition or bad, and she issued the open challenge. We go into the gorilla position to see a bunch of female superstars arguing over who gets the shot. So Stephanie McMahon, that is, comes up to them. And just to show you that we're going to change some things, but not a lot, Stephanie scolds the entire Raw Women's division and then tells them to follow her. And they do, like little puppies. They follow her just because she screamed at them. And she brings them out on stage and says a lot of people want to go against Ronda. So she's not going to play favorites, and she puts them in an 8-woman gauntlet match with the winner will face Ronda Rousey next week on Christmas Eve. They kick it off, Alicia. So that was at 10 o'clock, and I was like, oh, God. So I was trying to think if there was anything after that was coming up, and I was like, no. Are they really going to do an hour-long women's gauntlet match? And I was like, no, they're not going to do that. And then it was like 10:30, and I was like, there's only been like 4 people in this. They're going to do it. You know, gauntlet matches are so risky. I forget, it was in February when they did one, and I vividly remember recapping it, and I really, truly enjoyed it. It was a great match. It started off with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and then it was Seth Rollins and John Cena, and then it just kept going from there. And then I think finally Rollins got beat by like Elias, and it slowed down for a little bit, but this match was like an hour and a half long. Crowd into it most of the way. They of course they cooled off for a little bit, I think during Elias and The Miz, but it picked up at the end when they brought Braun Strowman out. That was a humongous risk, not one that you can do all the time. You know, do an hour and a half long match on Raw. And if it backfired right away, like, you know, they started off with Seth Rollins and, you know, Roman Reigns, which I do remember that being a great match. The John Cena Seth Rollins match was super slow, most of it rest holds, and then the final 10 minutes of it, and that match I think went like 25 minutes. The final 10, maybe 7 minutes of it were really good. But before that, it was like all rest holds, trying to just, buy time for Rollins and kind of buy time for Raw too. That could have been the turning point for that match, and that could have been it, and they could have been sitting on their hands for the next hour. So like these things come with risks, and their risk tonight was doing this for an hour, doing the entire third hour as a gauntlet match. Maybe they're just trying to say like, hey, look, let's just start a match at 10 o'clock and see how many people stick around to see the end of it. Maybe that was the idea. But when you're starting it with Alicia Fox in the ring, you're already starting at a handicap, then you send in Dana Brooke. To me, I would have cut those two out, and I would have made it a 6-woman gauntlet match, and I would have made each match a little longer so they could actually showcase what they can do. Kind of do what they did with the hour and a half men's gauntlet match. And this is the second women's gauntlet match they've had on Raw this year. They had another one that Nia Jax won, I think, at the Staples Center, which was that one was only like a half hour long, and not particularly good. The only thing that was good was the Sasha Banks and Nia Jax thing was pretty good. Or did they submit? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's not Nia Jax won that one. Somebody in the chat room correct me, please. My mind is just so fried from all the wrestling that I've watched through the years. Sometimes things just mix in. Anyway, I would have definitely eliminated Alicia Fox, Dana Brooke, and I'm scrolling through. Let me see what else. Maybe Ember Moon, because there's nothing. There was no benefit to Ember Moon to be in this match, and Ember Moon's already having enough trouble getting going. She just kind of exists, and I think that Ember Moon's better than just existing on the roster. So I don't think there was any benefit to have her in, especially when she got beat by Mickie James. She didn't even get to beat anybody. She was just there, and she lost, and then she goes to the back. A total non-factor. So I would have actually done this a 5-woman gauntlet match. Bayley versus... no, I don't want to exit. I almost exited my OBS. That would have sucked. I would have maybe if I could fantasy book this thing just to make it totally perfect, I would have immediately started off Bayley versus Mickie James, had them go for a little while. Mickie James beats her, or Bayley beats her, and it's Bayley versus Natalya, which would have been really good. Have them go Bayley, Natalya versus Ruby Riott. I'd still keep Ruby Riott in there. Let them kind of drag that thing out again, even though we had 20 minutes of them last night. And then finally done Natalya versus Sasha Banks and done that and had it build a little more. Because everything, it was, let's see, Bayley defeated, yeah. So I'm looking at my thing here. Oh, thank you, Gresh, for putting this up. This is actually better than running through the way I was doing it. Yeah, Dana Brooke, Alicia Fox, and Ember Moon out. And Bayley, probably just do Bayley, Mickie James, and just have the same order of elimination. I just think it would have made the match flow better. Because if you're going to do an hour of this, you want to put your best ones out there for that hour. And I believe that Bayley and Mickie James could actually probably have a very good 15-minute match. I really do. Or maybe even 20-minute match. And have Bayley tweak her knee. Mickie James maybe gets the upset over Bayley, or Bayley does that, and it's Natalya versus Bayley, which would have been, Natalya eliminating Bayley and Sasha Banks. That makes her more of a contender than Natalya running through Ruby Riott and then Mickie James. I'm sorry, Natalya and Ember Moon. Oh no, Ember Moon did eliminate Mickie James. That's right. Thank you for reminding me of that. I totally forgot about that. Sorry. Everything, like I said, everything kind of blends in after a while. But it's still, I just didn't see a point for Ember Moon to be there. Even though she did eliminate Mickie James, apparently. I guess I recapped that, and I don't remember that whatsoever. Oh my God. Anyway, so Natalya eliminates Ember Moon. Quick little sharpshooter roll up. She's out. Natalya beats Ruby Riott. I think Natalya eliminating Bayley and Sasha Banks would have been better. I don't know. But, again, I'm fantasy booking. It wasn't bad, but for an hour-long match, if you can call it a match, a couple different, one-on-one matchups, being combined into one, it dragged at times. It really severely dragged at times. And, I can't say that that's all Dana Brooke and Alicia Fox's fault, but it doesn't get started off on the right foot when it's those two. Not that they did anything bad. I don't think Alicia Fox was good in her match. Dana Brooke did the bare minimum, and then they got her out of there. But that's not how I want to say. I want to start off with a hot match. Like I think the Gauntlet in February was so successful because it started off with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. I think that's why. I think that played in a big part in its success. They had a 25-minute match. It's like, wow, that was just, what a match. And then it goes on. It's like, whoa, okay, I can get behind this. But if it's like Bayley versus Alicia Fox, which I didn't want, a match I didn't ask for and I didn't want to see, not interested. Just not interested. Anyway, but I could tell that they were trying to do a couple different things with Raw tonight. It wasn't much. At times, it did get a little long in the tooth, especially with this Gauntlet match. But like I said in my tweet at the end of the show, there's a lot more questions than answers at this time, but they've piqued my interest. And at the end of the night, I think that's all I really wanted from this. I really just wanted to just have my interest level rescued a little bit. It's it's been a long time since I've been like, oh my God, I can't wait. I cannot wait for 8 o'clock to roll around so I can watch Monday Night Raw. Now, I can't say that I'm still like, oh God, I can't wait for 8 o'clock to roll around for Raw, but I am kind of curious to see what they do. And I am kind of curious to see what the new year brings. And I think with that, I'm going to put a bow on this show right there. And just, and I also want to say thank you to everybody who's stuck with me in Victoria since we started this kind of experiment up in August. It's really been a lot of fun. And it was a lot of fun to be on here tonight. Of course, I wish Victoria was here talking with me, and she will be back. But I want to, and I'm going to show the Twitter poll again real quick, and I'll give you my final thumbs up or thumbs down. I just want to say happy holidays to everybody out there. If you're celebrating something around this time of the year, I wish you the happiest times. I hope you have family that you can enjoy it with. If not, I hope you have a lot of friends that you can enjoy it with. I just hope that everybody finds happiness through the holiday season. You're all good people. Some of you I've talked to one-on-one. Some of you I've known for years, like CJ, Quentin, Billy Hefner in the chat room as well. Grash, of course. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So, and we're looking forward to, a new year. We're looking forward to a new year. We're going to be taking 2 weeks off, and we'll be back for that new year. But first, before I get out of here, I'm not going to change anybody's opinion, on Twitter, but I think I can give this one a thumbs up. Even though 36% thumbs up and 64% thumbs down, Santa Claus comes on December 25th, not December 17th, okay? So they didn't get everything they wanted. I'm still going to give this a thumbs up just because of the questions that I have, and it's piqued my interest. And at the end of the day, I just want to be entertained, okay? And I can't say that I wasn't entertained tonight, okay? So with that, everybody, have a good one. Yes, I did miss you, Victoria. Victoria's in the chat room. Did you miss me? And how about this? Victoria, my wife, who we've been married for 3.5 years, in the chat room as Victoria DiGirolamo. Is that not insulting or what? Come on. Bush League. She's got to change her name. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, but, I don't just give my last name out to people. I think, Victoria, I think she's got to wear the Tedesco with pride, because I don't think anybody else does. And honestly, if you met some of my family, you wouldn't wear the name with pride either, but damn it, she should. Anyway, happy holidays, everybody. I'm Mike Tedesco, the best Raw recapper that's ever lived for Wrestleview. And I stand by that statement forever. And I'm just kidding. I hope everybody has a great holiday season and a happy new year. We will see you in January 2019 with Victoria, who will not have strep for that time. Enjoy, everybody. Good night.